But I'm afraid we must now move on to something a little bit more, well, existential, I suppose. And we have to return to
Must we? Do
yes,
we have to?
return to Facebook's transformation, its metamorphosis into Meta, and its announcement to ban sensitive topics.
This just sounds mask off to me
Yes.
more than anything. It just sounds like, well, this is what. I mean, not necessarily actually, because Facebook seems to have been the one social media platform, as much as I don't really like it, that has done more to push back against the
It has
censorship than, say, Twitter has. Not that that's a particularly high bar to cross.
it's not, and it's far from perfect, needless to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can actually just remind ourselves, have a look at Zuckerberg's Metaverse, it is this. Which is basically just a virtual reality for its users to immerse itself in. It's a metaverse that will let its users socialize, learn, and collaborate in play in ways that go beyond what we can imagine. So far, it just sounds like a Nintendo Wii, but nevertheless. And of course, well, he's actually gone further recently to say that he wants to use this as a means of monetizing higher education, which is going to be a feature of the metaverse.
What would that be? Being able to virtually attend lectures and stuff like that? Because I know that that's been something that people have been able to do.
He wants to
for a
place
little
this right at the heart of how the academic institutions are functioning. If we can get the next article up that goes into a little bit more detail. So at a video presentation, Zuckerberg outlined the ways in which the metaverse could revolutionize life, of which education is a key part. Psych.org says learning would become an immersive experience. By donning glasses or a headset, students could visually teleport to any place or time. They're, of course, referring to the metaverse itself. And as Zuckerberg says himself, the real revolutionary potential of the metaverse lies in how it allows for further profit to be made in higher education. As my recent research shows on digital technologies and higher education shows, these developments may further monetize the student experience and exploit the work of academics.
Wait, what? Did they use that
Yes.
language?
Yes. He's made it perfectly explicit that this is, well, I mean, he's obviously acting as like the corporate orator for the company. He, needless to say, is the director of it.
Yeah.
But this is ultimately its vision for setting itself above the competition.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm aware of this. I have covered a little bit of this before. And my primary worry with the whole thing is that there is big conjoined interests between big media conglomerates like Facebook and at the moment with government as well. You've got people like Nick Clegg involved in some marketing branch of Facebook. He's the head of some marketing branch. And there's a lot of other members of governments in suspiciously high places.
Evil corp.
Within these kinds of large media conglomerates that Facebook and Twitter are turning into, and it just makes me worry, will this just be pushing exactly what the establishment elites want to be pushed? It also makes me worry with the level of censorship that already goes on social media. If you're part of this, surely one of the primary reasons for a higher education is to be able to engage in honest questions. I know anybody who's aware of the university atmosphere at the moment may not necessarily feel that is the case, but that should be the case. And surely these kinds of virtual reality lectures that you could potentially attend, I would assume it might be something like that, would just open themselves up to further censorship in the future.
Yes, and well, it's a direct opportunity for what's being taught to be in strict alignment with the interests very close to Facebook, and
they'll draw you in with like free offers of critical race theory classes, and something like that.
As cynical as this may sound, I honestly think that this language that Zuckerberg has used may have been intentional, and if it was intentional, I'm afraid to say that it seems have worked because the corporate world really is buying into this. So we can get the next article up.
Of course, the
NVIDIA.
Corporate world is.
So NVIDIA is really buying this and wants to jump on this bandwagon. So what they say is ultimately the major takeaway is NVIDIA's intent to increase accessibility to AI technologies and immersive experiences available for any enterprise that wants to pursue innovation in these manners. And of course, they have said on the side that they see the multiverse as a potentially effective platform for battling climate change and other forms of social injustice. But really, they just want a piece of this pie, don't they?
Oh yeah, I mean it's going to presumably open up a potential if it's successful. My main hope with this is that it just crashes and burns, because it seems to be advertising itself as some kind of something similar to Second Life and other such programs, which in the past have had varying levels of success. I'm just going to hope it turns out to be an incredibly well-funded VR chat, personally, with loads of people running around as Ugandan Knuckles.
As do I. But do you know who else is interested? Samsung. Let's have a look at Samsung. So Samsung announces its next-gen RAM for phones and the Metaverse. So it's quite literally announced that it wants to develop, I imagine, its RAM based around this new innovation from Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, so for all of my hopes that this will crash and burn, it seems that a lot of large-scale companies want to put a lot of money and investment into making sure it doesn't.
Well, that would... I mean, that would be potentially the most optimistic way of looking at it. That is that there are interests to try to almost resist just how draconian this could become. But really, this is probably got much more to do with profit, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. That Samsung and other such big companies are going to put, by the sounds of it, if they're doing next-gen RAM for phones, and the Metaverse are going to be putting a lot of effort into building up the infrastructure for this to ensure that it is successful, so that they can profit off of it.
Yeah, this, sadly, they're not the only one. The list goes on. The next one is Peter Jackson, who has sold his special effects firm for $1.6 billion to invest in the Metaverse.
And I mean, why is Peter Jackson getting involved? Has Peter Jackson been relevant since 2005? He did the Hobbit films, but they were kind of rubbish.
Didn't he also do Planet of the Apes?
Yeah, I think that's 2005 is what I was referring to. I mean, the special effects unit for The Hobbit was not particularly fantastic from what I remember. And since then, what's he been up to? I don't know. So this is maybe just his way of getting involved in something big. But I don't understand what kind of interests he might have.
He wasn't enduring any troubles within the company itself, was he, to my knowledge?
What, with Facebook or the company?
No, with the company he's just sold. I don't even know what it was called.
I'm not aware. I'm assuming that given that it was worth so much, he was probably renting it out for use by other large studios, the same way that if you've got a big special effects firm and you're not doing anything with it right now, why not just let other people use it? So I find it funny that he would sell something that would presumably be incredibly profitable for him for the sake of investing in this metaverse.
Yeah. But the South Korean government are game for it too, as it turns out.
So a conglomerate of government and private interests.
Yes. Yeah, but I'm afraid it gets, well, arguably not worse, because this next one is a little bit more trivial, but it's still kind of strange. Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber.
Why? So he can find new ways to torture us with his terrible music?
Yeah.
Please.
Yes, but he's basically, we can get the link up here. He has announced a concert in the Metaverse.
Oh, I was absolutely right.
Yeah, it has been announced as follows. The pop star is partnering with virtual entertainment company Wave for Bieber, an interactive virtual experience in which a digital avatar of Bieber will perform a full live show in the tech world's trendy new conception of cyberspace. How rubbish does that sound?
It sounds straight out of the 90s. Tech world's trendy new conception of cyberspace.
But nonetheless, they continue to frame it as the groundbreaking collaboration which will give fans a futuristic look into the metaverse, which looks surprisingly like a Nintendo Wii console, merging gaming, real-time motion capture and live musical performs into an immersive, interactive experience. Needless to say, I will not be tuning into that.
Neither will I. I assume it will be Zoomers tuning in as always. But yeah, this just thing that just sounds like a big cash grab to me. To be perfectly honest, getting on the ground floor of this big new thing so that you can see if you can make a load of money out of it.
Yeah, and sadly,
and if it does fail, I suppose to Bieber and other such people, it probably won't have cost that much. Unlike Jackson, Peter Jackson selling his massive business so that he could get in on this.
The harrowing thing is, though, I imagine Justin Bieber's supporters are probably going to be, well, silly enough, to put it quite frank, to invest in this and actually get enjoyment from.
mean,
Or
they
maybe
like-
I'm being a bit of a snob here.
I mean,
but-
well, I'll be a snob. They're Justin
Let's be
Bieber
snobs.
fans. Let's not assume any grand intellect coming from them.
No, no. But we must return to what was the subject of the segment, which is his Mark Zuckerberg's decision to ban targeted political adverts. He's going to do this by preventing advertisers from targeting people based on sensitive topics, including politics, race, and sexual orientation, to prevent the advertisers from abusing the targeting options we make available. Very ambiguous language, isn't it?
Very ambiguous language. I will say that if they are going to do this, I certainly hope that it's on all sides of the political spectrum. Not that I'm particularly hopeful that that's how it's going to fall, but if they were to approach this in a fair manner, that's what you would expect.
Yeah.
Not that Silicon Valley approaches political matters in a fair manner.
I mean, if I'm honest, this is a very, very unsurprising press release, really, isn't it? Because Facebook has been under pressure, as with all the other big tech companies, to get in line. I mean, the European Union is very much doubling down on this.
Yes.
And
wasn't it Sacha Baron Cohen, of all people, who came out and said that if Facebook was around in the 1930s, they would have been running adverts for Hitler and other such rubbish straw men, where people like Sacha Baron Cohen, Borat, trying to call somebody out for publishing offensive content.
Yeah. So what this is saying really is in the grand scheme of things, not very much. I mean, does go on to say that advertisers are still going to be able to target adverts largely based on topics such as age, gender, and location, but especially on the subject of gender, you can see how contentious that could get, given that it's a purely arbitrary matter these days. And Facebook's Vice President Graham Mudd has also said that in the new year they're going to use the platform to help people curb their gambling habits. As well, which is a little bit random.
And given that social media addiction is a massive problem, what, are they just going to replace one addiction with another? Maybe.
Yeah, it's almost no. I mean, it kind of makes me laugh really to see gambling companies actually almost self-advertising how bad their own trade is. But this is almost the fact that Facebook are now trying to make something of this just kind of deepens my misanthropy a little bit.
Have much trust in companies like Facebook to do the public any good.
No. But shall we see what Verge thinks about this proposed clampdown?
Oh, shall we?
Yes. Well, it's actually surprisingly, I shouldn't be surprised at all. I can't pretend that I am surprised. They're very pleased. And the reasons are as follows. Meta, we scroll down a little bit, the new name for the parent company that oversees Facebook and Instagram suddenly wants to be less creepy.
I don't see this as a deduction of creepiness.
Yes. According to a post on the Meta for Business blog, the company is blocking advertisers from using detailed ad targeting options that show ads based on your engagement in sensitive areas, including race or ethnicity, religious views, political beliefs, sexual orientation, health, and a whole lot more. And Meta emphasizes that detailed targeting options aren't really based on your physical characteristics or personal choices. Rather, they're what advertisers think you might be interested in based on your activity. Even still, detailed targeting can still be harmful. Needless to say, they've made, I suppose, a subtle point about the fact that they haven't actually attached this commitment to any actual content of what could be deemed offensive.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose to a certain extent there is an idea being put there that, well, it's probably more accurate to target people based on what activity they seem to be displaying, their behavior, rather than any, immutable characteristics, because your immutable characteristics will not necessarily determine your personality. Yeah,
but just to sum this up, really, I mean, there are a lot of reasons to be concerned by Facebook, but this particular press release is not one of them. It's entirely a PR exercise, really. And it's almost certainly related to the concerns that have been raised by, of course, Facebook's recent whistleblower, Frances Horgan, I believe.
Yes.
So I think we should keep an eye on precisely what form this clampdown assumes, but for now, let's suspend judgment.
Thanks for watching this clip from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. We broadcast live on lotuseaters.com at 1 PM UK time every weekday. And we also have loads more content that we don't put on YouTube, such as the memes and video comments from our community. Every week we also have new episodes of our regular series, Contemplations and Epochs. In Contemplations, Josh explores interesting and diverse topics, such as the science behind the need for fathers in the home, or why people believe in ghosts and the paranormal. In Epochs, Bo and I go on, often at length, about various events and periods in history that are particularly fascinating. We've just finished a 5-part mini-series on the 100 Years' War, which I particularly enjoyed right up until the end of it when, spoiler alert, the French won. Alongside our excellent team of in-house writers, we also commission articles from outside contributors, and Silver and Gold tier subscribers have access to an audio recording of each premium article, so you don't have to read it yourself. We interview various contemporary thinkers and entertainers, as well as host the recordings of our live events. We also have a series of premium video content on the site, which we think is particularly worthwhile, or we simply can't put on YouTube because their editorial policies prohibit reasonable discussion on the subject. Personally, I think the deep dives we've been doing into critical theory and critical race theory are most important, as we reveal the origins of intersectionality and the plan that the radical left has for our societies. We are funded almost exclusively by our subscribers, so if you'd like to join us in the work we're doing, head over to lotuseaters.com and we'll see you there.